Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Talkoffame podcast. I'm Kylie Montini. Today, we're joined by Ola. Ola is the host of the Real Happy Hour podcast, in which they have conversations about the relational dynamics of characters in film and TV with the theme cocktail. As many of you know, I am obsessed with, of course, podcasting and entertainment, especially. And basically an entertainment nerd. So anytime I talk about entertainment, I just go geeking out. So I'm super excited to have this conversation. And thank you so much, Ola, for coming on, taking time out of your busy schedule to chat with us today. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Kylie. I'm very happy to be here, and I also love your show. So this is really going to be fun, and I'm really
Oh,
happy to be here.
thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. So, of course, you host a podcast, the Real Happy Hour podcast. I love. You have so many conversations on the podcast, like entertainment, film, and TV. But in case no one kind of heard about the podcast or never listened to it, like what is the Real Happy Hour podcast?
So the Real Happy Hour podcast is a sort of space where I speak with writers, producers, directors, actors, anyone in the entertainment field, and we pick a movie that we enjoy and we talk about the movie. And it's very conversational. And for every recording, there's usually a cocktail. Sometimes it's a mocktail, sometimes it's just a glass of water, but there's usually just a vibe and um it's all about building community. That's the goal with the podcast. The goal is to be able to have a community of creatives and we can create something together. So yeah.
Ooh, I love it. Like, of course, when I saw your podcast and I saw you cover a bunch of film and TV stuff, I'm like, okay, this is my type of podcast I need to listen to. Because anyone that loves entertainment like I do, they have to like listen to some type of podcast like that. But like, what is kind of a show and TV show or movie that you'd like to cover?
So last year was our first season and I was able to create about 20 episodes, which is on average almost 2 episodes a month, which was the goal. And I covered everything from Black Panther to Atlanta to Woman King to just a variety of movies to The Clone Tyrone, and very recently we did Past Lives, which was a very interesting episode. So it's just a varied combination of films. Even Scream, yeah, because usually I'm not a horror person, but I like movies like Scream. I can tolerate movies like Scream and not sort of be too scared.
I'm the same exact way because I'm the person that hates scary movies, but I don't mind some of them, like Scream. I love Scream, but if it's like an actual horror movie, then I'm just like, this is not it for me. This is not it. But if did you ever like watch Barbie or did a review on it? And like, how
I
did you
did.
feel about
I did do Barbie, and that's actually one of the high episodes that I have. And it was me and an East African journalist and producer that reviewed the movie. And it was really interesting because we both went into watching the movie with an idea of what the movie would be like.
that?
And we came out of the cinema just like, oh wow, they really made us question what it is to just be an existing human in this world, regardless of how you identify like your gender. Like it just sort of made you question the construct that we have and that we're dealing with and that we've all accepted. Yeah, it was interesting. Really
Yeah,
interesting.
it
Did you
was
watch it?
definitely interesting. I watched it a million times. I loved the movie, but it was kind of not what I expected, to be honest with you. Like, it was hilarious, but kind of like probably a little weird as well in certain ways. Like, it was a very empowerment woman movie, which I also loved. I love like watching female empowerment movies like Barbie and so many other movies. But then I was like, okay, like, what is this? Like, I first admit I kind of like questioned the movie a little bit, but I also loved it. But I was especially like surprised. I don't know if you checked the Emmy nominations, but Ryan Gosling was the only one. I had Greta Thunberg and Margot Robbie that was nominated for the movie, which is like surprised me so much on Margot Robbie or even Greta Thunberg that wasn't even nominated, which is surprising.
Yeah, it is surprising that they were nominated for a couple of awards, and I think the most recent nominations that even came out was the Oscars or something like that, and Greta wasn't nominated for like best director, or maybe she was, or but there was the whole controversy about the nominations and they're being
Mhm.
snubbed, and
Yeah.
as much as I enjoyed the movie, and we all went into the movie thinking it was going to be just this glossy, girly, film, and it being this empowering film that's breaking down gender constructs in this created
Yeah.
world. Um, it's still, and it did make so much money. It's like the biggest, probably the biggest film of last year,
Yeah.
and it still doesn't like we still have to have that sort of regard for it and not necessarily we don't like the creators don't necessarily need an award to sort of give it that value because it's such a good film already and the stats already show that. And there's another movie that got a lot of nominations and that's Poor Things, and I think that's starring Emma Stone, and that's
Mhm.
also a feminist movie, an empowering movie, and a historical movie in terms of the director's a French female director or something, and this is probably her first film or one of her first films. And so there are other films too around the same tones of, equality, feminism that are out there that also deserve the attention because Barbie's
Yeah.
already won.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
exactly right. Because I feel like with 2023, there was so many feminist empowering women movies that there's so much like to put up, like to watch because there's so many, like Emma Stone, Barbie, like so many good movies, and there's also supposed to be many good movies this year, like Deadpool 3. Like there's so many that have been dying and can't wait for it to come out. But there's honestly a kind of like a bunch of snubs in the Grammys, the Oscars or whatever. But there is honestly so many good movies with the box office hits that it's like, who cares if you get like an Oscar? Of course, it'll be great if you get nominated. Of course, can't complain about getting an Oscar. But of course, the most important thing is that people are watching it or how they
exactly.
feel about it.
Exactly. That's how I see Barbie. Like Barbie won already.
Yeah,
So
it
it
definitely won
doesn't
already.
need
It doesn't need to be nominated, but it
it
still
doesn't
won.
need anything. He has already proven the point that,
Yeah, it already did prove a point.
yeah,
You can see it by the box office records they're pulling off right now.
yeah. So, it was a great movie. Enjoyed it. It is historical, record breaking. What else? What else?
Yeah,
What
what
else could
else
you
can we
want?
name for this movie? Like, there's so many. But like, what are like? Of course, your mission for the podcast is the dynamics of characters in film and TV. But what are some like relational dynamics of characters in film and TV?
So in that sense is sort of the dynamics, in every relationships that exist, like there are dynamics, and I enjoy the way films explore character relationships and the dynamics with each other. Like, for example, Black Panther. Or actually, let's even do the Barbie movie. So the relationship between Barbie and Ken and that dynamic of um Ken, they flipped it around in the movie, and you know Barbies were sort of the ones ruling. Like they had the power, they had all of the because they had all the roles, and Ken was just like a plus one who was just there to sort of serve the overall goal of the Barbie world, which I can't remember what it's called now. And so is that dynamic of okay, that's how we started. And then they flipped when Barbie and Ken went into the real world and Ken saw like the patriarchy and understood well an idea of the patriarchy and then took it back and tried to, create that same system. And
Yeah.
Barbie going into the real world and seeing sort of the defects in some of the ways that she thinks was perfect because flipped in the other way, she's seen the defects and taking that back and the change. So it's just that relational dynamic of and the arc of the characters from where it starts and where it ends, and that journey and how we all learn by watching that.
Yeah, because of course when movies and seeing other things, like movies can pull off such a different dynamics and such a fantasy on what different worlds look like and how people are. Like sometimes I can believe in those fantasies even though I don't want to. Like everyone watching movies sees those fantasies and be like, okay, I want to be in that fantasy, or I want to be in this fantasy, or I want to be this character. Like that's like a big thing about television is that like they believe in different dynamics and with Barbie, that was a great example of that. Because of course, Barbie thought like, okay, I want to go to the real world. It's perfect. I want to see how people are obsessed with me, give me hugs, and how Barbie is so popular. Like they, when she went to the real world in like the middle of the movie, her expectations just went downhill. Like it just went downhill. Like she was like, okay, this world sucks. I'm going back to Barbie Land. Like this, I would be that everyone's so nice. And when she went back, it turned into Ken World. Like there's so like there's the different expectations in that movie. There's just so many plot and twists in Barbie. There's like, okay, what did I miss? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, exactly. Was there any TV show you enjoy, or is there any like one that you're an avid watcher of, like any TV show you love?
Oh, there's so many TV shows that I can give you a full blown list, but if I like right now, it's Grey's Anatomy. I'm a
Oh,
valid Grey's Anatomy fan, huge. Anytime someone brings up Grey's Anatomy, I go on a goofball personality. And also the morning show I love and Law and Order SVU, the new season 25 just came out. I'm the happiest person. But yeah, those are kind of the shows I'm loving. I was just watching it Law and Order for you before we started recording. Shows how much I'm obsessed. We'll never get over the obsession, but it was really great. Like those are really great shows. But what are kind of like some of your favorite like shows or
yeah,
movies?
I love Grey's Anatomy. Like I am an avid watcher of. I didn't start early, so when I started, I just watched like random episodes, and then sometime around 2018, I just watched the whole thing from season one, and I was just like, wow, this is crazy.
I was a late gamer as well. I didn't start watching Grey's Anatomy until 2020 when the pandemic hit. That's when I started watching them and just became obsessed ever since.
Same here. And then even the spin-offs, I didn't see Private Practice. I didn't watch Private Practice, but Station 19, oh my God, that is
Oh,
my
is it good?
show.
Like I've seen an episode of Private Practice, but I've seen like snippets of episode of Station 19 before the episode because Station 19 is usually on before Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, so there's usually like almost a crossover, like sort of
Yeah.
patient situations in Station 19 will cross over into
Mhm.
Grey's Anatomy. But the
Yeah.
first two seasons of Station 19, they kind of mirror the first four seasons of Grey's Anatomy.
Really?
And oh my, it's such a this that is the only show that moves me. So
Oh
when
my
I
God.
watch that show, yeah, so like it's like old Grays where anyone can get it, like anyone can like die.
Yeah, everyone could die any moment. It seems like every season someone is dying. Like I'm
And that's
currently
the
on
thing.
season 10.
Yeah,
So
but no
I'm
one's
just
dying anymore in
ready for
Grays.
Derek Sherman's death in season 11 because I usually every time well, I'm at my second rerun right now. Well, my first rerun. But every time I watch a character die that I love, even though I saw it once before, I'm just like I'm ready to sob. And plus Derek Sherman is my favorite character. So once comes at season 11 episode, like last episode 24, if anyone is listening to this season, just start watching Grey's Anatomy. This is spoilers for you. So you might have to go cross forward for this one, but he dies and I literally cry like I know him personally. I'm just like,
And I think one character that I really like was now I can't remember her name. George was married to the Latina girl lady. What was her name?
wait,
Um
who?
the do you know George was married to this lady in the
Oh,
beginning?
Kylie?
Kylie, like Kylie's journey was crazy. Like
I
she came
know.
in there such a like a shy, like I need this guy to like me. And then over the seasons, she develops into this strong woman. And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah,
Like,
she just turns into this sassy, confident personality. I'm just like,
yeah,
okay, I
that was
see you.
amazing. Kylie was amazing. And Christina, I can't go on about the characters, like, because I love that show so much.
Me too.
Another show, Euphoria. Do you watch Euphoria?
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, season one, amazing. The cinematography, beyond. It's just
Mhm.
beautiful. What about movie? What movie did you, apart from Barbie, like last year, what movie did you, was it, would you call your best movie of the year?
Oh, like I watched so many movies last year, but I just like saw a movie this week that came out last year that's still in theaters. Anyone But You by with Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney. That movie is so good that I can't even express how good it is. I was laughing so bad that I was crying. Like it's so good. But I would say that is probably the best movie of 2023,
Oh,
besides from
wow.
Barbie.
Okay, because I feel like that just came out in the UK, so we're very slow over here. Like even there's so many movies that are over there now that are not even here in the UK yet. But I know of that movie, I know about you, and I will watch it.
Yeah, and
Um,
plus, like if you watch that movie, there's gonna be a hit song that you will become obsessed with after it in the movie. Just FYI, if you watch it. Because, like there's
so
a song that was in the
for me,
movie that just became
um,
popular, and I became obsessed with it after the movie, and so did anyone else after watching that movie. It's so bad. It's a bad obsession.
nice.
But like what do you think personally was the biggest movie to be released in 2023? Of course, besides from Barbie.
I mean, Oppenheimer was a big one. I've not seen
Mhm.
Oppenheimer, but Oppenheimer is a big one. It's also got the big nominations, and it did really well. It and there's a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio that did really well too. I can't remember what it is, but I feel like that did really well. Scream came out last year, that did well. I feel like that was almost a reboot to Scream, and it made quite a lot in the box office.
Mhm.
And streaming movies too did really well. Netflix created some really, really good movies. Um, I'm gonna actually recommend some movies for you, and I'm gonna recommend this show, a TV series called Blood Sisters. It's Nollywood. Nollywood is Nigerian content. So if
Mhm.
anyone listening who has no idea of Nollywood Nigerian content, this is a beautiful TV show on Netflix. It's about 6 episodes. Beautiful storytelling. Some of the best in Nigeria created that show, and yeah, I recommend that. Yeah.
Ooh, I'll definitely check that out after this when we head off. That seems so interesting. But like, how do you like choose the movies and TV shows that you cover on your podcast?
That's interesting. So usually my guests, we talk about what we usually actors that we like, that we sort of we converse about the movies coming out, and if with actors that we like, then we pick the movie. So it's very collaborative. We just have a conversation about the movies. And now this year, I'm tailoring sort of the movies around the personalities of who I have on the show. So there's a movie coming out. It's probably already in America, but the guy Zac Efron is in it. It's like a wrestling
Oh,
movie.
Iron Claw?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I've
it's in
got
the US now. I haven't seen it, but I've been
yeah,
dying to.
it's not out here yet. So
Oh, like I'm a
and
big Zac Efron fan, so like I'll see anything Zac Efron's in. So anything
there you
he's
go.
in, I'll definitely see it. So
I've got someone who is a boxer um
mm,
coming on the podcast to also talk about that film. And so and
ooh.
there's a movie about journalism. I'm very bad with titles and names of people. So so there's a movie also about journalism that I've got two journalists to sort of be on the show with me to talk about. So I'm just tailoring the movies or the series around the guest's personality. That's
Ooh,
how it's
that's
going.
such a great idea. I never thought of that idea. Now you got that idea stuck in my brain. These, of course, with different movies and stuff, they have different ideas. Like maybe journalists, boxers, baseball players. Like you, like I love that you were simply just fit like different people based off of okay, they're journalists. Like we'll get journalists to come on the podcast. That's such a brilliant idea.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
And like before we head off, I wanted to ask you, like, what is like kind of the hardest part for you as a podcast host?
The hardest part, the motivation. That has to be the thing because it's very self-motivated. This is a very self-motivated job because
Mhm.
it's not really about instant gratification. It's a long game. And for anyone who wants to get into podcasting, you have to just go into it with the mindset of this is a long game. Some people around you might not understand. It doesn't matter. They might not even watch. doesn't matter. It's not for them. It's for someone else because your voice is needed. There's something you have to share in the world that may not necessarily be for the people around you, but for even further. You'd be surprised where your voice would reach and who it will touch and change and inspire. And so really that's the hardest thing, the self-motivation. And also starting, I had to find a studio, the crew, and all of that. That was a bit difficult too. But scaling everything back, I feel like that's the advice I would give anyone starting. Start virtually. Um, yeah, start virtually.
That is so accurate. Because of course, as a podcast host, it's much harder than people think. Trust me. I've been doing this for almost 4 years now. Like it's difficult by the day. Like
Yeah,
it's always like every podcast has its obstacles, as it's very normal. And it's also depending on every podcast is different. Not everyone interviews a guest. Sometimes they have a co-host, sometimes it is do by himself, depending on what everyone's interests are. But having a podcast is so sometimes can be unmotivating. I can sometimes get most of the time I get unmotivated and so trying to find motivation to do an interview. So it does kind of hard to find a try to struggle to find that motivation and trying to do the podcast is who knows it might impact the people that are listening.
definitely. It definitely will. Like it's as it can feel like it's a big world, but one great thing about the internet, it makes it smaller and you it's just really nice having a podcast and sharing your voice and reaching people and collaborating like what we're doing. I'd also like you to come on my podcast. Like whoever's listening is hearing this Nigerian living in the UK, working with a podcast, it probably inspire them to start a podcast and you coming over to inspire people to just sort of do what they need to do that makes them happy and just be happier.
That's so true. And that is honestly the best way to wrap this podcast up. Where can people like find you on socials if they want to connect or want to listen to your podcast?
Amazing. So my podcast is the Real Happy Hour podcast. That's the and real REEL Happy Hour podcast. Come over and you can find us on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube because that's I've also got visuals. So visuals and all the streaming sites. I'm everywhere. I all know the podcast directories. You can find me, the Real Happy Hour podcast.
Awesome. Everyone go check the podcast out. I totally recommend. And I hope everyone enjoys this episode and stay tuned for future episodes. Make sure to subscribe, review, rate, whatever is offered on the streaming site you're on. There's so many streaming sites I can't keep track of them these days. But thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. I hope everyone enjoyed this episode and thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. I enjoyed this time. You're amazing and keep doing what you're doing.
And same with you as well.